Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see current affairs of 27 December 2024. So let us see the important articles from our examination point of view, and we are going to cover even some static portion, like I will be giving you information what are the dimensions that you have to see from that topic from different subjects point of view, so that you will be well thorough about that topic. Okay, let us see the first article. So in the first page, you got this article, Nation mourns former PM Manmohan Singh, economist, ruler, credited with liberalization. So actually this article is talking about our ex-Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. And actually here you have to know about especially what are the contributions of this Prime Minister Manmohan Singh to our nation. So can you tell me during which period Manmohan Singh was Prime Minister? 2004 to 2014. Okay. So here we will be seeing about our ex-Prime Minister. Okay. He was Prime Minister from 2004 to 2014. Okay. So see this timeline. That means it is for 1 decade. That means 10 years. So go to your governance subject from GS paper 2 and tell me any acts which passed during this time period. Just recall your memory. 2004, after this 2005. Any important acts which passed during this time? Yes, Manrega. Next. Manrega. Next, any other act in this same period, 2005? That is in 2006. Yes, Disaster Management Act, very good. And one more important act from your Ethics and RTI Act. Okay, in 2006, we have Forest Conservation Act. 2009, can you tell me one significant act? RTE, Right to Education Act. And 2010, anything significant that you can remember right now? Okay, 2012. Prevention of Child from Sexual Abuse Act. Any other things? Okay, 2013. National Food Security Act. Okay, so these are the major acts that you might be recalling at the right now. Okay, so now let us see, like, by seeing this acts, so we have to squeeze the information like what was the policy of this Manmohan Singh. Okay, that means MG Narega, actually he is an economist. He is not just a politician, he is an economist. So because of this, what are the policies he made? So he led to, that policies led to economic development for sure. So if you see these policies, what are the problems in our economy? There is unemployment, there is lack of education, and there is no proper nutrition at that time, yes or no? And even malnutrition is very high, and health related things regarding malnutrition is very high. And next, what are the things? Okay, environment also he focused. So if you see here these acts, MG Narega is focused on providing work, especially in rural areas, that too unskilled works. So through this, we are trying to achieve sustainable development goals, at least poverty, hunger, so that will be obviously increases our economic development. And next one is disaster management. So if there is any disaster, what happened, that will leads to increasing of burden on the government, so that government need to spend lot of funds for rehabilitation, reconstruction. So because of this, we are trying to minimize the effect of disaster, that will leads to economic development indirectly. And here RTI, so keep it aside. So Forest Conservation Act. So whenever we are not protecting our environment, obviously it will be having economic impact. So when we are conserving our forest, obviously we can get more amount of raw materials from this forest that will be helpful for development of manufacturing sector. So whenever manufacturing sector is advanced or improved, obviously that will lead to economic development. And education, so with this education we will be increasing our literacy rate, and with education we can improve skills, and because of the skills and everything, obviously it will leads to economic development. And even National Food Security Act, under which we have this scheme called as PDS, that is public distribution system, through which government is providing subsidized food grains for the people who are below poverty line. That means we are trying to addressing this malnutrition, nutrition related problems and health related problems. And even government is focusing on safety and security of children. So what are the measures or the acts which are taken during this time, especially focused on economic development? So this is a difference between other political or politicians when we are compared to of this Manmohan Singh. Okay, so because of this, yes, during this period he contributed a lot for our economic development. And one more thing, here we have to see about even LPG reforms. So for this LPG reforms which happened during 1990s, okay, 1991 exactly in our country, at that time Manmohan Singh was finance minister. At that time, PV Narasimhan as well as this Manmohan Singh, they forced for this LPG. So because of that, that led to a huge economic change in our country. And next one here is, before he became prime minister, he also worked with World Bank. Okay, so because of his economic and as well as educational background from economics, that led to economic development of our country. So that forced him to take this steps regarding development in these sectors. Okay, now let us see what are the important points are given here. So nation is in mourning because of this death of Manmohan Singh, and finally he passed away at age of 92. Okay, let us see here how this Manmohan Singh government from 2004 to 2014 shaped India's foreign policy and as well as India's economic development. So actually during this period, he made India-US 123 agreement. It is regarding nuclear deal in 2008. So if this had not been done, so India do not develop civil nuclear energy. So it is very important for even our transition of energy from non-renewable towards renewable energy sources. And this one is, during this time period, India-China engagement also had been increased, especially strategic and cooperative partnership agreement which had been signed between India and China during this period. So because of that, that led to increasing of border cooperation between India and China. And next one here is, we also came up with this land border agreement with Bangladesh in year 2014. So at that time only we exchanged enclaves. So what is this enclaves? The concept that you might have studied in your GS paper to IR. Other country's territory within another territory. For example, Bangladeshi territories are present in India and India's territories are present in Bangladesh. They are called as enclaves. So if enclaves are there, what will be the problem? More terrorism, insurgency next. So there will be no control of the domestic country there. There will be another country which is responsible for that administration. So it will be causing huge disturbance for administration of that so particular area. So because of this, we came up with enclaves exchange during this period of Manmohan Singh. And even government pursued a lookist policy during this period itself. And even India signed free trade agreement with ASEAN. So how many countries are there in this ASEAN grouping? 10. So whether India is part of that ASEAN or not? India is part? Huh? India is part of that ASEAN or not? So tell me which are the countries of ASEAN? Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, Myanmar. These 5 countries, Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, these 5 areas, and below we have 5 countries. India is not part of ASEAN. But India came up with this free trade agreement with this ASEAN in 2010 during this period. So that what happened, whenever we are having this kind of free trade agreements, we can get investments, and we can have access to international markets, we can improve our trade. And this one here is, even United Nations Security Council reforms, they had got a strong push during this Manmohan Singh period. Especially from that time onwards, we are asking for India's permanent membership in this United Nations Security Council. So in this way, not only from economy point of view, not only providing the safety and security of Indians, but even they are focusing on improving of relationship with different countries. Okay, so these are the advancements or the things that you have to remember regarding this Manmohan Singh period. And see this article, RBI's monetary policy may have slowed demand, says Finance Ministry. Okay, to understand this, we have to go back to the basics. So what is the concept of inflation? Inflation means? Inflation is nothing but there is increasing of prices of goods and services in the market. Okay. So whenever inflation is happening, so which are the organizations will take measures to control this inflation? We have one side RBI, we have one side Government of India. Okay, in short, Government of India, GOI. So what is the policy taken by RBI? Monetary policy. And government policy? Fiscal policy. So what will be there in this monetary policy? Interest rates. Examples? Repo rate, reverse repo rate, CRR, SLR. That means, can we divide it into two types, qualitative and quantitative measures? Okay. So simply we'll write qualitative and second one is quantitative measures. Okay. So what will be there in this fiscal policy? Taxes. Taxes can be increased or decreased. Next, spending, that is public spending. Taxes, public spending. Okay. So what is this article is saying that whenever is inflation there, so RBI, what it will do, interest rate, it will increases or decreases? They will increase interest rate whenever there is inflation. So what happens whenever there is increasing of this interest rate? So there will be the decreasing of money supply in the market. So why they will increase interest rate? To decrease money supply in the market. So whenever money supply is happening, so will people make the demand for the goods and services? No, right? So here whenever there is decreasing of money supply, there is decreasing of demand. So whenever there is decreasing of demand, what happen? That will lead to decreasing of economic growth. So now this concept is clear, right? So if you go back to the title, it is saying that RBI's monetary policy may have slowed demand. So can you connect? Because of RBI's monetary policy, there is decreasing of demand. So this is the thing which exactly given in your article. Okay, because of this monetary policy of RBI, which wants to control this inflation, that is causing decrease in the demand. So recently one more statement which is given by Cabinet Secretary, what he said. So rather than focusing on inflation, we have to focus on economic growth. The same thing which is given here. We have to connect those two articles. That is the thing. So now there is a tussle between whom and whom? RBI and government. So these are the statements now given by the government which is against RBI's monetary policy. Now central government is saying that because of monetary policy of RBI, there is decreasing of demand, decreasing of economic growth. Clear? Okay, now let us see exactly what it said here. So Finance Ministry of India has acknowledged that monetary policy stance and macro-prudential measures which is implemented by RBI, that is whatever the steps taken by RBI, which is contributing to the slowdown of economic demand. Okay, So here you have to understand about what is the role of RBI's monetary policy. Why we have RBI's monetary policy? So first one here is we have to control inflation, and second one is we have to ensure physical stability. So for that we have RBI. So here you have to know about especially what are the functions and role of RBI, because these are the allegations which made by central government on RBI. Now it is questioning whether it is performing its functions or not. Okay, so because of this, now there may be a question in your prelims and mains regarding functions and roles of RBI. You have to ensure that you are seeing all those functions and rules. And next one here is because of decreasing of money supply, it is affecting consumer spending. If people, they are not having money in their hands, will they go to market and will they buy something? No, there is decreasing of spending, so that even business investment, domestic business investment is also affecting. So here if you see, whenever there is increasing of interest rates, what happen? So banks will be having less money. So whenever they are having less money, will they give more loans? No. So loans will be also reduced. So whenever loans are reduced, will entrepreneurs do they have money? No. Obviously, whenever there is less loans which is provided by the banks, it will be obviously affecting entrepreneurs and startups and as well as investment. That is the thing which mainly said here. And next one here is there is downward revision of growth expectations. So because of this monetary policy of RBI, so it is saying that decreasing of demand, obviously it will lead to decreasing of economic growth. So from 7% economic growth degradation which happened to 6.5% now. And next one here is even they said that there is also decreasing of credit growth as well. There is decreasing of spending, decreasing of investment. So here finance minister says that we need to have more policies so that we have to stimulate the credit. We need to spend more so that the money supply will be there in the market, so that we can go for economic revival. We can increase the demand. Okay, so that is the thing which mainly said, that's it, nothing more than that. And see this article. Assam Rifles told to make list of villages in Myanmar within 10 kilometers from border. So what is the keyword? Assam Rifles. In which subject you will be dealing with this Assam Rifles? Security. So nowadays there are many articles which are directly in your syllabus or there in news, right? Especially from internal security. So you may get many number of questions from internal security in this year means. So you have to be prepared for that. So try to draw at least your northeastern map. Almost most of the security problems will be there in the northeast. So you have to be prepared, like which state is present where and which is a border security force which is present there. Okay, it is talking about Assam Rifles. So what do you know about this Assam Rifles? Okay, it is run under Ministry of Home Affairs. Next. Let it be. Okay, they are paramilitary. Okay, they are guarding which border? India and Myanmar border. Next. Next, anything that you know special? So why this India Myanmar is in news recently, yesterday or day before yesterday? Why we discussed? Free movement regime. So government want to scrape or to remove this free movement regime, right? So why we have to remove this free movement regime? Okay, to strengthen our security. Okay. So what is the relationship between this free movement regime removal and Assam Rifles? Can you connect anything? So this connection is said in this article. So can you connect what they are going to say? At least guess. Okay, normally here we have this free movement regime. Earlier we have 16 kilometers. It had been decreased to 10 kilometers. So what is the relationship with this FMR and Assam Rifles now? So they are guarding this India-Myanmar border. Then what will be there in this article? Guess. So okay, let us see the title. Assam Rifles told to make list of villages in Myanmar within 10 kilometers from border. That means indirectly they are talking about what? Free movement regime only. Is that clear? They're talking about 10 kilometers. That means it is about FMR. So now tell me why this Assam Rifles need to make the list of villages. For what? To control insurgency. Okay, next. Why they have to list the villages? It is not like that. It is not at all related to that. It is related to removal of this FMR and Assam Rifles. So if there is any need, if these people from Myanmar they are entering into India, so we have to make sure that from which village they are from. So here they are saying that we are going to use technology like facial recognition system and as well as biometric to identify these Myanmar nationals who are entering into our country through 43 newly identified border checkpoints along international border. So whenever we are scraping this, can we completely stop the people movement? No. Initially, if we do that, what happens again? There will be more violence which happen across the border for sure. Because from years onwards, we have this, from 2018 onwards. If suddenly we stop, that means the people already, some people, they are using our Indian schools for their education. Some people, they are using our Indian hospitals for health services. If we can't stop that. So here, at least for some time, we can go for using of check post. In that check post, we have to ensure that safe movement of people is happening. So for that, they are identifying the list of villages where we are having this border checkpoints along this India-Myanmar border and how we are maintaining the people movement without increasing or causing the violence and to decrease this insurgency in this region. So because of this is a news. Okay, let us see exactly. So Union Home Ministry of India has directed Assam Rifles to compile a detailed list of villages in this Myanmar that are located within 10 kilometers of the Indian border. So from Indian border till 10 kilometers. So which are the villages are there? So try to list it down. And this initiative is part of border strategy to monitor the movement of people, okay, who are coming from Myanmar into India, and especially because of ongoing armed conflict in Myanmar. So actually, you know that there is no democracy in Myanmar. There is military junta, and most of the important political leaders, they were in the prisons. So because of this, what happened? Whenever people, they don't find that their life is safe and secure in that country, obviously there will be a tendency of coming outside of their country, and they will be residing in another country, right? So because of this, here we have to monitor the proper movement of the people. So because of this, we want to scrap this free movement regime now, okay, so that we can control insurgency and as well as refugees into India. And if you see here, there is border dynamics between India and Myanmar is very, very dynamic. So because of ongoing ethnic conflict in this Myanmar, that led to humanitarian crisis. So because of this, here we need to also take care about our national security and local demographics. Because whenever outsiders coming into India, it will be always affecting demographics like population there. So that it will be always problem for the local politicians and as well as internal security and as well as national security as well. So we have to take the responsibility of ensuring safety and security of Indians. And next one here is we need to have a proper security and strategy evaluation. So here we can use technology like biometric capture, face recognition, and so that we can ensure India's border security and we can have a proper monitor and as well as controlling of border movements as well. And actually one problem we are having here is whatever the data of regarding people who are present in this 10 kilometers border, if you want to maintain all the details. So Myanmar is, they might not give the information first of all, and they will not allow us because of their privacy. If we ask them to give the biometrics of you, will they give? No. Again, this will be one challenge for implementation of technology, because you're saying that we are going to use facial recognition. If you're not having that so and so pick of that person, can we use this facial recognition? No. So that is a problem which is said here. So here it is raising concerns about accuracy of data compiling and which data we will be taking, and as well as security, and as well as how we are going to manage this data. And next one here is we need to have the proper coordination with even different stakeholders and as well as different agencies, so that we can ensure proper decision making and effective thing. And actually the scraping of this free movement regime is also one of the things that we have to see, like how the future consequences will be. So we don't know like what exactly is going to happen if government is completely removing this free movement regime. Okay, so that is the thing. And see this article, a global polio resurgence and need to re-evaluate the basics. What is this article is about? Polio. So what is this polio? It is a disease. So have you seen any patient who is having this polio? What happens? Will they walk? Will they do the physical activities like you? That means which system in their body will be getting affected? Not limbs. Entire nervous system will be get affected. So even if they are getting polio at a very young age, so the body size will be increased. They will be having same bone, same everything, but they cannot do physical activities like walking or even talking. They will be not having cognitive abilities because their nervous system will be getting affected. So polio is caused by virus or bacteria? Yes, virus. So polio is caused by virus. So recently, one type of polio cases which is seen in news in Northeast, yeah, in Meghalaya. What is that variant? Uh, uh, that is called as vaccine-derived polio disease. So there is a high chance of getting polio in your examination, because across the world also there is increasing of polio cases, which is said in this article. Okay, here you can see polio virus had been detected through routine surveillance of wastewater system, especially in European countries like Finland, Germany, Poland, Spain, UK. Since September onwards, there is increasing of polio cases in European countries. So how it is spreading? Spreading through contamination of water, wastewater system. So here they are getting oral polio vaccine. It is a live attenuated vaccine. It was adopted because of efficiency in administering. So actually what was happening in this Europe is because of the wastewater contamination, there is spreading of this polio virus in especially European countries. So what is the vaccine that we will be taking for polio in India? Polio vaccine. That is nothing but 2 drops of live attenuated virus will be given to the children who are below how many years? 5 years. Especially yearly, every year, twice there will be polio program which will be conducted throughout our country. That will be normally government schools or private schools, and even Anganwadi people and ASHA workers, they will contribute for providing of this vaccines for the people. And especially during that vaccines for awareness, so how government is providing awareness about that program? They're going for giving advertisements in TVs, in radios, and also physically also they will be using posters, right? So because of this huge awareness program, so India finally eliminated this polio. But recently through this vaccine which is given to a patient because of lack of immunity, that had been identified in state of Meghalaya. So here you have to know about what is this oral polio vaccine. So even now European countries, they started again giving of this oral polio vaccine in their countries to control this polio virus. Okay, so that is a thing. Nothing more than that. Yeah, say this article. An avoidable tragedy. India must take measures to reform crowd management. Why this crowd management is in news? Stampede where? Give examples of stampede incidents in India in recent past. Hathras, okay, in UP next. Here only Pushpa movie. Next, Pushpa movie Stampede. And we are going to have what? Kumbh Mela, Mahakumbh. In which state? UP. So what are the recent advancements in that Kumbh Mela area of UP? AI. Next. They declared as a district, separate district, new district in UP. Why? For the efficient crowd management. So actually this article is saying that National Crimes Record Bureau revealed that from 1996 to 2002, in India, around 3,935 stampede incidents they had happened. So because of this incidents, more than 3,000 people they had died. So this is only official data. We don't know how many died in this unofficially. That means here we can understand that here whenever government is organizing anything, but if government is not providing safety, then what happens? So Article 21, that is right to life and personal liberty, will be getting affected, right? So here this article is saying that this huge number says that there is failure in ensuring public safety during religious festivals, not only festival time, even political rallies, even celebrity appearances. So even this article is saying that religious gatherings account for significant proportion of these tragedies. Around 2000 level in Sabarimala, about 106 people died, okay, in just a narrow pathway. And even in 2013, Kumbh Mela in Allahabad, 36 people they were killed in railway station. And even the political rallies also, around 30 people they died in 2014. So like that, here the major causes for this crowd or this like stampede here is three reasons you have to remember that. The first one is religious gatherings, second one is political rallies, and third one is celebrities. So in the second part they gave about this Pushpa. Hyderabad Sandhya theater became very famous and it is very near to our institute as well. Here in this area what happened, mother died and actually her son is in coma, I think so. Oh, that is the thing which mainly given here entirely what happened, what is the reason for this crowd, and the person who died here is Revati and the name also given in the Hindu paper. Okay, so just here see about how can we handle this crowd efficiently. And there is for sure, there will be for sure in your ethics GS paper 4 regarding any incident because it became very very famous. And even there is increasing of stampede incidents in the recent past, and we are going to have even Mahakumbh. So in that Kumbh also there will be stampede for sure. At least some people will be getting affected because of this stampede. So here you may get a case study like you are a district collector and you are organizing one religious congregation. So how you will manage crowd efficiently. So try to make a list of crowd management strategies that we can use, like how other countries are managing this crowd efficiently, whether they are using AI or whether they are using any booking of tickets or stopping of tickets, and how they are counting the people there. So whether there are basic amenities are present in that region or not. So how can you ensure each and everyone will be having safety and security? Like you have to ensure this kind of things, like deployment of medical aid, trade personals, and management protocols, non-negotiable standards. Okay, so all these things that you have to include in your points. So in this article, just see about this third, from last, third, fourth and fifth lines. Okay. Yeah, next see this article. Tapping into Kazakhstan rare earths potential. What does this article is about? It is talking about Kazakhstan, not earthquake, rare earth metals. Okay, so tell me, where is this Kazakhstan located? Kazakhstan is part of Middle East. Can you tell me 5 stans which are present in this area? Not Afghanistan. Ah. Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. Not Kyrgyzstan, Kyrgyzstan. Okay. So why it is famous, Kazakhstan? So can you tell me about resources of this Middle Eastern countries on which their economy is dependent? Oil, gas, West Asia. Rare earth metals. Okay, so now tell me examples of rare earth metals. Huh? Okay, scandium. Uranium is radioactive metal. Next, manganese, cobalt. Okay, copper, antimony. Okay, germanium. Okay, very good. So now tell me for what we can use. What is the application of these rare earth metals? Okay, semiconductors. For what we need semiconductors? Okay, for electronic devices. Apart from this, I want to link a point. So India wants to move for transition of our energy from non-renewable to renewable resources, right? And what is the target of India? By 2030, how many gigawatts of energy should be? Okay, 500 gigawatts of renewable energy to be produced by 2030. Okay, 2030 or 25? 30, ma'am. Okay, now tell me what is the relationship between these two? Exactly, rare earth metals. Rare earth metals and our target. Yeah, very good. One is solar panels. Next. Turbines. Okay. Next. What is the relation? Think. So from which country you are getting the solar panels from? China. So now tell me, is there any link between these two? Because I wrote China here. That means to decrease dominancy of China, we need another country where we can get our imports. That means, can I say about supply chain diversification can be done? Okay, 1 point. Next point, tell me. Why this article is in news? See here, tapping into Kazakhstan's rare earth potential. Okay, at least see this. This is the gist of the article. India's over reliance on China and possible global shift after US regime change underscored the need for diversification. So now guess what this article is talking. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay, apart from that? Uh, yes, very good. Okay, so China is opposing for this rare metal supply, so we need another country. So we got a choice now, that is Kazakhstan. Next, any other point? Okay, for economy also that is important. Next. So because of whatever the bilateral issues we have, so if you see this paragraph, they said clearly that, so China passed actions which says that there is disruption of critical technology and as well as mineral supply due to bilateral issues. So because of this, it will be having for sure impact on critical mineral industry of our country. So now tell me, what are the critical minerals? Now only you said. Okay, so how this critical minerals industry, if it is affected, how it is having impact on economy? Okay, space sector will be affected. Next, electronic sector, digitalization. Next, next, petro, refineries. Semiconductor industries will be affected. Nanotechnology. Okay, next. Come on, go on saying. You're good. Tell me. Industrial sector or manufacturing sector. Because of that, our forex reserves will be also get affected, because if you're not developing in our country, there is no choice. We have to go to another country and we have to bring from other country. Next, imports increases, again trade deficit increases, depletion of forex reserves. Okay, so with this we can reduce Chinese monopoly. And even in this COP29 itself, India had been pledged that we are going to achieve 500 gigawatts by 2030. So for that, we need to improve rare earth metals like dysprosium. Okay, write down this, which is given directly in this article. I hope you can see. Dysprosium. So dysprosium is very important for advancing in our clean energy technology. And India is lacking this capacity across this rare earth metal supply. So because of this, what happened? So that will be leading to the over reliance on China. So because of this article is saying that with this India-Kazakhstan collaboration, we can enhance our resource security. First point here is we can enhance our resource security. Second important point is we can reduce the dependence on China, and we can also ensure sustainability in procuring rare earth metal through domestic extraction, and we can also get import from the partners in close proximity. Okay, so these are the things that you have to remember from this article, that's it. And here you can get a question like recently dysprosium is seen in use. Dysprosium is which kind of metal? It is rare earth metal. Or else you can get a question like dysprosium is seen in use. It is used in which technologies? Like they may give biotechnology, nanotechnology, information technology, clean technology. So answer is clean technology. Okay, so in this way you can expect questions. And you will be thinking that I didn't heard that word anywhere, but here or there somewhere in any article they might be giving that for sure, and you have to catch those points. So if you say the context, it is saying that there is increased global demand for rare earth elements. So because of this, every country now wants to move towards renewable energy, because recently COP29 said that we have to decrease carbon dioxide emissions. So how can we decrease carbon dioxide emissions, and as well as how can we decrease global warming when we are moving for this cleaner energies, right? So if every country is moving towards this path, what happens? There will be increased demand for the products which will be used for making of this clean technologies, and the countries which are supplying that will be getting demand. Yes or no? But unfortunately, India is importer of that products, not exporter. So in this way also India will be getting disadvantaged. So rather than depending on only China, we have to go for alternate other countries which are supplying this metal, so that we can focus on our domestic industries. And despite being the fifth largest holder of rare earth metals, even India is mostly dependent on Chinese imports. So if you're having good relations with other countries, if you're getting technologies like how other countries are extracting this, in the same way we can also implement the technologies so that we can become our own extractor of this metal, so that we can improve our domestic industries. That is the thing which mainly said. So first one here is there is increased demand for these rare metals because we are focusing on production of high technology devices, renewable energy technologies, and defense system. So in all these areas, we need this rare earth metals. And actually every country is having a goal of achieving carbon neutrality, and India's goal is by 2070 we have to achieve this carbon neutrality or zero, and for China it is 2060, and for European countries it is 2050. So if they want to achieve the targets, they need this for sure, that is clean energy technologies. And next one here is, if you see, India is heavily dependent on this China for rare earth imports, so that we are going to have a risk. For example, if they stop the exports, then what happens? So entire the things will be stopped. It will be affecting economy, environment, and every arena of our India's name and fame will be also affected, right? So rather than that, we have to focus on diversification of our supply chain. And next one here is Kazakhstan hold a very good place because it is having good rare earth market, and even it is having the reserves, and even it is one of the most reliable supplier we can dependent on. And next important point here is, yes, we can also get some advanced extradition technologies from this Kazakhstan, so that we have the reserves in our country, we can go for extraction of that reserves in our India. Okay, and we can also use technologies by this US, South Korea, and as well as European Union, so that we can become a significant player in this global rare earth metals if we get the technology from these countries. Okay, so that is the thing. And actually Kazakhstan is a new oil because it is good at this rare earth metals, and now every country wants this. Okay, so it can play a good role in international arena. Because of this, we are calling this Kazakhstan as a new oil. And Kazakhstan invests especially in expanding its mining operations and production capabilities. If it is expanding its operations and as well as production capabilities, ultimately it will be providing the supply for the different countries, so that the growth of the economy of this Kazakhstan will be very high, and different countries' energy security will be dependent on this Kazakhstan now. Okay, that is the thing. And even India has a commitment of achieving carbon neutrality and as well as achieving 500 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030. So we can achieve that by using this Kazakhstan to get this rare earth elements. Clear? So these are the important topics that appeared in our today's Hindu newspaper. By this I'm concluding. Thank you so much guys for watching. And anthropology new batch is going to be started from January 2nd. So if you wish to join this course, you can contact me directly. And even GS Foundation new batch is going to start after this Sankranti in the next year, that is in January month. So if you want to take even GS Foundation admission, you can contact us on this number. Number is 8074 765513, and you can also text me on WhatsApp. Okay, that's all guys. Thank you so much.